What's up, everybody, and welcome back to MF1 Dividend Investing. This is episode 3. In this episode, I'm going to go over my top 5 reasons I like using M1 Finance and also give you my top 5 reasons I think that it has some constraints or negatives. So, the pros and cons of using M1 Finance over the last year or so. Okay, so the number one thing for me that I like about M1 Finance is the way they set up your portfolio as a pie. If you haven't seen my other videos, basically when you create an M1 account, you'll be asked to set up a pie or to pick one that's kind of professionally made. They have a bunch you could pick from, depending on what you would like to invest in your investing strategies. For me personally, I created my own, and essentially what it is a pie is made up of either individual holdings or in this case a pie within a pie. So my pie has 8 slices, and those 8 slices are separate pies that are then made of individual holdings. The only restriction on that is that you can only have 100 holdings overall, so you can't put more than 100 different stocks, EFTs, bonds, and etc. into here. So just for example, right, my pie is the dividend and dividend growth pie, and then I have a slice which is another pie called technology, and that technology pie is made up of 12 different individual stocks. And you can see the kind of the stats here, right? 12 holdings, the dividend yield 1.898%, no expense ratio because it's all individual holdings. So this setup to invest is really unique because you get to pick everything top to bottom. You can pick your individual holdings. You can set the targets for the holdings. So, I want my allocation of Microsoft, right, to be 9%. Well, maybe I want it to be 10%, or maybe I think it's not going to do as well. I can, cut it back down to 5 or 4%. So in a way, like I said, it's kind of a way to create your own mini index fund that you invest in. And it's kind of a set it and forget it once you get it up and going. But it's very customizable, completely customizable. So you can really pick and tune it any way that you want. And then once it's set up and running, right, you just auto invest kind of into it. Obviously, you need to pay attention to what holdings you have. And if something isn't going good, right, you should switch it out. But it's a way to kind of automate your investing, but customized to your own needs, very dialed in, I would say. So that's number 1 on my list, which gets me kind of going into number 2, which is the auto invest features. So jumping into the account, you'll see over here the auto invest feature, and it can be turned on or off, but I always leave it on. And essentially how this works is once your cash balance is over $25, it will M1 Finance will automatically take that cash balance and invest it into your portfolio, divvied up based on your allocations. You can set that to be higher if you would like, or you can turn it off. And how that would basically work is, if I set a minimum to $1,000, M1 Finance would know not to invest any money until my cash balance got over $1,000, but it would keep the $1,000 in there. So if I had a cash balance of $1,025, M1 Finance would then know to invest my cash, but only invest $25, right? Leaving the $1,000 minimum in there unless you would change it back. You can also turn this off, but I don't see a reason to. I like the feature that it's a, kind of set it and forget it, especially if you tie it in with, reoccurring deposits. So like I've explained in my other videos, I invest every 2 weeks into this account. So that deposit comes in, it's over $25. M1 Finance knows, okay, next trade window, we're going to automatically invest that money in your portfolio based on the targets. And you can see here upcoming trades. I don't have any, but the next trade window for me right now, if that was over $25, would be at 9:30 a.m. on Monday. So that's number 2 on my list of positives. Number 3 kind of ties right into that, and it would be what I call kind of auto rebalancing, even though it's not true rebalancing of the account. So assuming you're doing the auto invest in, if you come down here, right, you see I have all these allocations. So if I deposited more money in and I was doing another trade, M1 Finance would look at my actual percentages, allocations, right, of my account, and my targets. And it's going to say, okay, and this next group of cash that we're going to invest for you, we're going to put it and allocate it into your account based on your targets. So if I have a target that's underweight, like here, right, basic materials, I'm targeting 10%, but my actual right now is 9.8. So M1 Finance is going to look at that and say, okay, you need to invest more money into your basic materials slice before we invest money in technology, which as of right now is over allocated, right? My actual is 15.1. So while it's not a true rebalance, it's kind of keeping your account from drifting and becoming too heavily weighted in one area. Again, that's based on your targets, and you could change that at any time. So in a way, I think it's even better than rebalancing, because you can rebalance. You can see here there's a button you can click, and then M1 Finance will automatically buy and sell all of your holdings to hit your targets, and not just your slice targets, but your actual targets within those slices. So in like technology, for example, right? Lam Research, I have it's almost 10%. I have a target of 9, but Qualcomm, I have a target of 7, and it's only 6.8. So if I hit rebalance, it'll sell some Lam Research and buy some Qualcomm to equal my targets. Personally, I would not want that to happen, because anytime you are selling stocks, assuming you have a gain, you have a tax consequence. So I don't want to have repeated tax consequences to rebalance this account. I'm going to let it run and have its legs, and what underperforms, what overperforms. But the ship will always be steered back to my targets, because any new money coming into the account is going to be allocated to those under target areas. And I'll get into why I think that's a really good way to invest your money. But that'll be another video, because we'll get too much into it, and this video will be too long. So you'll see another video on why I think that way of auto investing is a good strategy for kind of a hands-off approach. Number 4 on my positives would be that you're allowed to buy fractional shares. So if I go into my holdings here, even though I have $6,000 in this account, you'll see that I really don't own that many shares of any one company. In fact, there's very few that I own even more than a share of. Most of these are under one share. I mean, I have 100 holdings. So I think that's unique in the sense that you're allowed, like I was saying in the pie, right? You're kind of creating your own index fund. And if you wanted to do this or something similar in a traditional brokerage, they're not going to let you buy fractional shares. So if I wanted this same 100 stock portfolio in a regular trading account, I would have to buy one share of each company. And, it may take me a lot longer to hit that diversification, because buying one share of each, you need a lot of capital to do that. I would actually should figure it out and just see the difference to what it would cost to own one share of each of these, but it would be a lot more than $6,000, as you can see here. As some of these, right, I own not even a quarter of a share yet. So fractional ownership is unique, right? It lets you kind of work within this, create your own index fund kind of idea, and it gets you skin in the game and all the holdings and diversified in all the holdings right up front, not something you have to build into over time. The number 5 on the list of positive things would just be the ease it is to get started. It's really simple to sign up, create an account. There's no minimums to open an account, and there's no real fees involved at all with trading on M1 Finance. So if you want to get up and get started, right, it's pretty simple to do so. So that would be number 5. Now let me go back into the account, and we will talk about some of the restrictions or cons I see of using M1 Finance. Okay, so jumping back into the account, I would say the first con I have, or negative with this, is that it's really not set up for someone who's going to actively trade, wants to buy and sell, try to time the market, and particularly, especially if you want to do individual holdings. I don't see this being set up as an easy way to say, okay, I want to, jump out of Apple today. I guess I could change my target allocation to 0 and it'll sell them out. But buying and selling individual holdings is just very clunky, and not intuitive with M1 Finance at all. So if you're someone who likes to trade or try to time the market, I would say that M1 Finance is not set up for that, and I would use a regular brokerage account if I was looking to do that. Kind of along those lines, number two of the things I think are a negative with M1 Finance is that you don't have any control over your actual purchases. So yes, you get to set when you buy, and you can do a buy, right? You can set up a buy yourself, or you can turn off auto invest and invest when you would choose to. But you have one window, especially if you only have the basic account. If you have the plus account, you only get two windows. So whenever you want to buy, right, it's going to be that morning trade window at 9:30 a.m. or it's going to be at 3 o'clock if you have the plus account. So you don't have any control over when you really are buying, other than the day. Along those lines as well is you can't set any limit orders. So typically, right, if I wanted to buy Apple at X price, I can put a limit order saying, hey, this is going to be good for the day, for a week, for a month. When it hits this price, buy it. M1 Finance, you can't do that. It's going to buy at the market price, whatever that may be at that time, right? At either the 9:30 a.m. or the 3 p.m. Time. So you have no control over what you're actually buying, or at what price you're buying it. I would say it's up to the market at that time when the trade goes through, what you're paying. So again, if you're kind of a trader that likes to buy and sell out of things, you're left to the market a bit to hope that you hit the numbers you hit. That you're not day trading in an M1 Finance account. Number three in cons for me would just be the overall kind of stats of your portfolio in general. I mean, sure, they give you this value over time chart, and you can change it by day, week, month, quarter, or year, or all time. You have some basic information here about your gains and your targets, and you can go into the slices and get a little more information, about individual holdings. But overall, there's no big picture snapshot that gives you kind of an overall look at your account. So even going into my holdings, right, you can see every individual holding I have, my cost basis, my unrealized gains, and the value of those. But overall to the account, without doing the math, right, what percentage is this of my overall portfolio? It's not clear, right? Or how many dividends has this company paid me over the last 6 months, year? Is their dividend increased or decreased? It's hard to track that without going back through your activity, and looking at every single holding, and figuring that out. So it's a little clunky to go through and figure it all out, manually, but you can do that. And that's part of the reason why I created my own Google spreadsheet, which I think I've shown in some of the other videos. I'll just quickly pull it up on the screen here, which gives me just a really quick overview snapshot of my M1 Finance portfolio. But it gives me allocations, right, by sector, dividends by sector. It tells me, how much I'm getting paid. It gives me a quick snapshot here. I can see all my holdings, what they've paid me to date, what I anticipate they'll pay me, and then the portfolio value. And this is all done as a percentage of the portfolio. So it's very easy for me to say, oh, wait a sec, why am I, why is this company so far above all the rest? Is there a reason for that? Do I want to, change my strategy with this one stock because maybe I think it's weighted too high or not? So there's no really simple, quick overview in M1 Finance itself to kind of look at that on an individual level, right, for your individual holdings. Overall, it gives you a decent idea about your gains and, good snapshot. But if you want to get into individual details, it's a little more muddy to figure that out without doing it yourself. So that would be number three. Number four would just be the limitations in M1 itself. So you can't trade options. There's no mutual funds available to buy in M1 Finance. There's no futures. There's no Forex market. A lot of that stuff probably won't apply to most people. It doesn't really apply to me as a dividend investor, which is why I have my account here. But if people wanted to do that, M1 Finance, you can't do it. It's just not an option right now. Maybe in the future it will be, but it's not right now. And then the last thing that that M1 Finance doesn't offer is a kind of a tax harvesting option. So, basically, right, obviously you're going to pay if you buy and sell anything over the course of the year, you're going to have a taxable event, which will either help or hurt you when it comes to tax time. And, certain brokerages will allow you to kind of automatically do a tax harvest, which will, sell kind of losing positions so that you can offset any gains you had in that account or other income you have. So M1 doesn't offer that. It's not a huge deal for me since I'm not buying and selling stocks on a regular basis. But if that's something that you're looking for, M1 doesn't offer it. So with that said, I think that's it for the video. If there's any questions or anything you want me to go into further depth about, just leave a comment below. Please like and subscribe the video. And thanks for sticking it out to the end. I appreciate it and look forward to seeing you back soon.